Welcome to Curators of Cuba. Today we're pleased to announce that nobody in this gallery has COVID.
Indeed.
Good to see you, Dylan.
You too, Suzanne.
So, firstly, do you want to tell us how and when did Potocki Paterson begin? It's Potocki, isn't it?
Potocki.
Potocki.
Yeah.
Potocki
Yeah,
Paterson.
it's a bit of a tongue twister, but once you learn it, you get the hang of it.
Nice.
Yeah. So we'll try again as this
That's
interview
right.
progresses and see how well we do. So the gallery started about 5 years ago, towards the end of 2014. I was looking for a change in my professional life. I'd spent a good 10 years overseas, living in the Philippines and also Switzerland. And when I came back to New Zealand, I went back into legal practice. And it was, something just wasn't right in my soul. So I started looking around Wellington for commercial premises to be able to do something with. I still had no idea at the time what I was going to do. And found this place, which had been vacant for 2 years. It was an office suite. And I thought, this is something that I could make work. Predominantly it was the light that was coming through. That drew me into a possibility of something being able to happen here. I'm not sure how I decided to start an art gallery. It just came naturally over the months as I was renovating the place. And yeah, and here we are today, 5 years later.
So let's talk about the renovations. Do you want to tell us some stories?
Yeah,
about
they were
that?
great fun.
Yeah.
So it used to be an office suite. It was all carpeted here with a suspended ceiling that was very low, and so it felt quite claustrophobic. And the first thing that I wanted to do was strip the place back to its bare bones. And so in order to do that, sledgehammers were brought in, crowbars, and just basically went to work by myself. And this place used to be a jewellery store back in the 1920s and 30s. And as I started to renovate the place, certain treasures started to come out from the walls.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and the
Do
ceiling.
you have an example?
I do actually, yeah. I started, we've got a safe in the gallery, which obviously they stored their jewels in, a walk-in Burnside safe. For some reason or another, I started with the first ceiling panel close to the safe to bring the ceiling panels down. And as I tipped it over, a doll came down out of the ceiling, wrapped in gold and silver chains, ruby rings, a whole bunch of other stuff, and it was like a treasure hunt from then on in. I just, it was good fun.
Stashing their jewellery up in the ceiling.
Yeah. Staff, you can't trust them.
Well, we won't be doing that anymore because the ceiling's gone.
Yeah.
Still got the safe though.
Yeah, that's right.
Don't
Yeah,
you? I've seen a few things in the safe.
yeah,
So you're actually a dealer gallery.
yeah. That's
aren't
right.
you?
That's right.
So how many artists do you represent, and how did you find those artists?
Yeah, in those first kind of 2-3 years that we were open, I didn't class myself as a dealer gallery because I wanted to do an apprenticeship really into my own apprenticeship into running a gallery and finding my way through with experiences and learning from mistakes actually. And as time developed, you obviously meet a lot of artists who come to openings, who contact myself, and I decided to start representing artists seriously who had a story to tell. I like artists that are from the other side of the tracks. I like outsider artists. Anybody who's got a story to tell, you can see that in their work, and there's a certain rawness about it But it's those stories, and it's about the relationships that you build with artists as well that I think is very important.
Because it's good to trust your dealer, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. You know, and one of the hard things is in business is people, you know, and if you can find like-minded souls, there's a good, you know, compatibility and gelling. It makes my job a lot easier. They feel comfortable with me, and it kind of developed from that, yeah.
Nice. And what are the advantages and disadvantages of being in this space?
In this particular space here? I would say, well, I used to think of it as a disadvantage that we're on the first floor. Initially, everybody wants to be on the ground floor because you're getting a lot of pedestrian viewers walking by. But slowly as time developed, I realised that this space here is actually pretty special. There's a nice vibe and feeling when you come into the gallery, and that's accentuated by the unknown of people ascending the stairs, you know, and not too sure what they're going to expect, and hopefully they're quite pleasantly surprised when they come into the space. And
I guess it's a destination too. People that are coming specifically to come and see the work as well.
Yeah.
So just in regards to the exhibitions, just before lockdown happened, you were going to open Super Duper?
Oh, we had a
Cuba
big
Duper.
exhibition planned. Yeah, it was, I was really excited. You know, there are a number of people involved. We had probably about a group show of 22 artists from all around the country. So a lot of effort went into it, and 3 days before we were about to open became that Wednesday level 4 lockdown. So,
but you'd done quite a bit of social, what do you call it? I think Arlo was working on a bit of online content.
Yeah, that's right. Not so much Arlo. It was a chap. Well, Arlo's contacts a chap called Ed Davis who was experimenting in virtual reality. He came in before we actually even knew there was going to be a lockdown, and he asked if he could make a virtual reality map of the gallery, and I was like, great, yeah, sounds good, because the future is heading that way somewhat to a degree, you know, and he was able to do the virtual reality just before, again, we got word that we were locking down. So I was able to use the content that he had developed and run with it in the online platform, which was really, you know, good and cutting edge for us, because it just enabled more interaction with the viewer when we were shut.
Do you think that it's been quite successful doing that as a platform?
I'm unsure, to be honest. Yeah, I think that there will always be a space for somebody to come in and physically view works. There's only so much you can get in an online kind of presence.
Yeah, I guess too with the online thing, it reaches a wider audience as well. Like you're thinking more international rather than just local. Or national.
That's right. That's right, and that's something to consider as we go on. Hopefully, the borders get opened up again and shipping resumes internationally.
True.
Yeah, so we are predominantly at the moment focused on a local and New Zealand market.
Hear that New Zealand come down. And then just one more question I've got is around your framing business.
Yeah.
What's that?
Well, I've always been of the mindset that what one person can do, so can another if they work hard at it. So even though I was not a framer at any given point, I do like working with my hands, and it was a natural step in terms of being able to offer this service to artists who come into the gallery whose works are not quite presented at the final stages, you know. Sometimes they don't have the money to be able to get their works framed. So I thought that I could offer that service to them at a reasonable rates in order for the exhibition to benefit everybody who's involved with it. Yeah.
Oh, that's so great, Dylan. Like, that's really supportive for the artists, because as you know, a lot of them do struggle. So that if you can offer that, I think that's awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
So, how are you finding it post-lockdown with the gallery?
I'm actually enjoying it. Yeah, to be honest. It's lockdown gave me a chance to wipe the slate clean in terms of how I wanted to operate as a dealer and putting on exhibitions as well. Work within a model that suited myself professionally and also personally. I think what we took from lockdown is that we've got to very much look after ourselves, and we only get one life, and so we should definitely do the things that make us feel happy, relaxed and smile. So yeah, a number of changes have been made here, but good changes, yeah.
That's a really nice philosophy. So is this the first show that you've had since the gallery's opened?
It is, yeah. Our last opening was in February. So that seems, geez, what are we now?
Ages ago.
Yeah, we're at the end of June. So yeah, very exciting time. This afternoon, I'm thoroughly looking forward to it.
Well, welcome back.
Thank you.
It's great to have your doors open again, and it's really good to be here, and the space looks amazing.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
Good, Shelley. Great to talk to you today. So do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're based?
Well, at the moment I'm based in Hawke's Bay. Have been living in Wellington for the past 17 years, but Hawke's Bay just seemed like a nicer climate, and so we moved up there. And I have a small studio and spend my day painting.
How long have you been painting?
Well, I started when I was about 20, and then took a break of N years whilst I brought my family up and did graphic design, and I restarted painting about 7 or 8 years ago.
So when you were doing graphic design, were you doing that was your job?
That was my job, yes.
And you had still been an artist as well?
Well, no, you couldn't. I mean, when I started, it was years and years ago, you just couldn't, unless you were exceptionally wonderful, earn any sort of a living from art. I mean, you just couldn't.
I think it's still the same. I don't think that's changed.
You know, you have to be. You just have to be, absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
A sort of David Hockney or a Damien Hirst or.
And how did you end up with this gallery?
Oh well, that's quite interesting because I was looking around for a dealer, vaguely, and Dylan actually got in touch because he saw some of my work on the internet, and we got together, and we have actually some friends in common, and I brought some work along, and he said, great, would you like an exhibition?
Yeah. He's a bit of a hustler, Dylan, isn't he? He's always on the lookout for somebody.
I think he's brilliant, actually. He
represent.
He is absolutely brilliant.
He's got a good stable. Oh, speaking of, here he is now. Oh, look. Congratulations. That's
well done,
great.
Shelley.
Thanks.
Wow.
Well, there we go. Red dot.
A dot.
We like those. We
like
those
those, yes.
Yeah. And so what are the benefits of being in this gallery, do you think?
Well, the big benefit, of course, is Dylan, because he represents me extremely well. Yeah. And and he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
And so that relationship works very well. The gallery, I think, is lovely. It's a great space. It's a lovely, lovely space, and it's kind of quite emotional as an artist when you actually see all of your work up together in one space, and you think, well, it's actually not looking too bad.
It looks great, actually.
And then people come in and they look at it, and sometimes they're very complimentary. The exhibition we had last year was extremely successful, and Dylan did brilliantly in managing it. So here we are again this year.
So how many shows have you had in this gallery?
Well, this is just the second one.
And what's the name of this exhibition?
This is called The Distance Between Us.
And how many pieces have you got?
There are 11 here.
So you brought these all down from
Hawke's Bay, yes, rattling around in the back of the car.
Yeah. So what do you think the benefits are for the location of this gallery?
Well, I mean, it's right in the middle of Wellington. It is upstairs, and I suppose initially you think, well, upstairs, what about passing trade? But how much passing trade actually buys a painting?
True,
you know?
yeah.
I think it's people who know the gallery and people who Dylan knows and the dealer knows, and you know, they come in and he tells them what they should buy and they buy it.
But do you also have relationships with some of your buyers?
Yes, I know one or two of them. Yes.
And so they'll come. Do you invite them to
I'm
the
actually,
show?
I'm absolutely terrible with money, you see. So I can't. I couldn't sell my.
That's quite good. Then get somebody else to do it for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we'll talk about the work. So do you see a relationship between doing graphic design and these paintings?
Only in that. Painting is entirely the product of one's own brain and hand and eye, and nobody interferes with it. But with graphic design, especially these days, it's all done by committee. And that's probably why it's become so poor.
So stale. Yeah. And so, you know, when you're painting this, do you have an idea of what the painting's going to look like?
Well, I'd work them
out
out quite meticulously, and then when you get them onto the canvas, they change. Because a painting has a life of its own, and it's something to do with the scale of it and how it's actually falling off the canvas. And so you alter things, you know, you change things. I mean, with this, quite a lot of this painting changed. It started off with people here and people walking around the corner here. In fact, it started off without that in it at all. And as the painting progressed, it became obvious that it was a space inhabited by only one person. That was the important thing about it. And so there we are. So that's how it kind of metamorphosed into something else.
So, and like looking at the paintings, there's a lot of single figures. Did you do this before lockdown or during lockdown?
Well, no, I did most of them before lockdown. I'm quite interested in the sort of solitary aspect of people, and the fact that being solitary is a life skill which isn't really taught to anybody. You know, you're taught to be social, you're taught to engage with other people, but being on your own is very alien to a lot of people. You know, and I think this lockdown thing has shown that quite a number of people actually can't cope on their own.
Yeah.
They just don't know what to do. They can't live with themselves. So, I mean, in a sense, this is what some of these works are about.
Yeah, it's kind of serendipitous that you did these single figures, solo figures, just before we went into that space. And so what medium are you using?
They're all oils.
And how do you find using that?
It's technically challenging because you have to kind of work everything out in layers, you know, and it takes ages to dry. So if you make a mistake, you then got to wait for it to dry until you can get rid of it. And that might take some days. So the thing that painting actually teaches you is to be very, very patient. So that one is amazingly patient and controlled when one's painting. But as soon as you stop painting, you'll become very impatient.
Did you actually study, or are you self-taught?
No, I did some studying years and years and years ago. But, you know, most of it is experience, really.
Just doing it, getting in there and doing it. You must really enjoy it, because you're still doing it
I'm
after 20 years.
I'm still doing it.
Thank you, Shelley.
Thank you very much indeed.